This woman has run at some of the highest stages in the world. She's qualified for the USATF Championships 6 times, including 1 Olympic trials. She was a medalist at the NCAA Outdoor Championships and was a Foot Locker qualifier for the national meet in high school. With professional PRs of 9:45 in the 3K steeple and 15:44 in the 5K. She was a professional athlete for Reebok and Tinman Elite, as well as a fellow Penn State track and field alum. This is Tori Gerlach. Thank you so much for joining me today, Tori.
Thanks, Brendan. Yeah, super excited to be here.
We'll hop in the first question and kind of get started from there. But the first question I want to ask you is what sparked you to kind of get involved in running track and field?
Yeah. So I feel like growing up, I played like multiple different sports. And my mom was a runner, so I feel like I was around that for a while because she kind of did some races as I was growing up. So I was definitely introduced to it from a young age. Ran track in elementary school, middle school, and then when I got to high school, I don't know how it works at your high school, but we could only we could only pick one sport to do. And so I didn't know what I wanted to do. But it was like, I think it was like 2 days before school started, and I had a couple of friends that were going out for the cross country team, and they kind of convinced me to do it. So I told my mom, oh, I'm gonna go out for the cross country team. Like I hadn't run all summer, and she's like, yeah, you can't just like join the team without running, So it was a rough start for sure, but yeah. So I don't know. My mom introduced me to it, and I actually do feel like it was I was kind of pushed into it. I think I'd rather have played soccer, but yeah, here I am. So I was
What was
like,
the what was the development kind of like in high school? Obviously, a Foot Locker national qualifier, but how did it start out? And did you think that that would be somewhere you would end up?
yeah, no, did not think that's where I would start out or sorry, end up, kind of as it went. But I actually do remember the first day of like practice. We had to do a 6 mile loop around this lake that is where I'm from, and it took me like 70 minutes to get around it. I think it was like it was getting dark, and I was like the last one. Everyone's just clapping, like, "Ugh," and my mom's like, oh gosh, like this is gonna be horrible. But then I ended up finishing 28th in the state that year. So I feel like I don't know, it just like I just quickly kind of just got better. I feel like when you're that young, like just the more you run, the better you get. I don't know. At least for me. Yeah, and I loved cross country. That was really fun. I loved the team aspect. But yeah, that was just kind of a whirlwind of a season. I don't remember it too much, but I just remember I loved competing, and I hated practice, but I loved competing, and yeah, I just got better really quickly. So yeah, that helps keeping in the
Yeah.
sport. I guess.
Kind of as you developed through high school, obviously 28th in the state as a freshman,
Mhm.
moving into like later in your high school career, like when did that kind of next step hit you where you were like, oh, I could be like really good at this, not just at the state level, but at the national level as well?
Yeah. Oh, that's a good question. Probably my sophomore year track. I didn't consider myself super speedy. I was just like, no, I love cross country. That's my thing. And then I was like thrown into a 4x4 and like PR'd in the 400 by like 8 seconds or something. And I was like, oh wow, like I actually like sprinting. Like I like that. So but then it quickly turned into like I like track more than cross country. But yeah, I would say like maybe yeah, my sophomore year was when I kind of realized like, okay, like I'm having some success in like both sport, it's kind of the same thing, but both sports, and just kind of went from there. But I would say my junior year cross country was where it kind of flipped the switch because I actually trained in the summer. So um, yeah, yeah.
That makes sense. Definitely kind of an important piece of qualifying for
Yeah,
national meets is training.
you probably train, so that's,
Yeah.
that's first. Yeah.
When you were kind of like getting out of high school, looking around at schools, what were your offers like? Was Penn State kind of one of the only options, or was it one of the main options that kind of made you look at that?
Yeah, I mean, Penn State was definitely like high on my list. I feel like I wanted to stay in the Northeast, or maybe my mom wanted me to stay in the Northeast, but so I kind of looked more East Coast. I had a lot of, or I don't know how to say this, but like I don't want to say options, but I feel like I was being contacted and narrowed down my list to some schools. Trying to think, yeah, like Georgetown, Villanova, Syracuse, kind of the classic little
Yeah,
bubble.
yeah, very classic.
Yeah, that's classic. Yeah, and then actually even University of Maryland. And I say that because I only went on 2 visits. First was Maryland, and then I went to Penn State, and I was like, yeah, I'm coming here. Like I don't even need to go anywhere else. I just kind of knew right away. So yeah, I only went on 2 visits, but I don't know. I'm pretty decisive, so I'm just like, yeah, no, this is good, you know. So yeah, I commit. Yeah, so I knew by the fall because I don't know what the rules are now, but back then, like they could talk to you going into senior year or summer, and then I
Yep.
could do in the fall where I was going. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's still similar. I know like now they can talk to you a little bit earlier, like junior year technically, kind of. But I don't think they can offer you until this like August of your senior year or something like that.
Okay.
Um
Sense. Okay.
yeah, it's weird.
Always
But
change.
now kind of looking back at the career you had, obviously very successful, and almost every year in college you were medaling at the Big Ten championships and qualifying for the NCAA meet. Um, that young high schooler in you in ninth grade, 28th in the state, all the way to qualifying for the NCAA outdoor meet. When you got to college, was that something that you expected to happen when you stepped foot on campus?
I like this question because I might have answered this differently back then, but this is how I feel like when I was a freshman, I was just happy to be there. Like I thought I achieved this thing that I really wanted, like to run in college, and I was just trying to be a sponge. Like I was like, okay, and it helped because I feel like 80% of the team were senior and fifth years, so I was just looking to them to kind of help me out and guide me. But yeah, I mean, I probably had goals for the seasons coming up, but I feel like I did not, I don't think I was thinking about like meddling, or I think I thought I had so much time and I just wanted to enjoy my first year and like whatever that means, you know. And I was still running PRs in my events, but not good enough to make nationals. So I felt like I was doing okay in that realm. But I would say by the end of freshman year, I got, you know, you get a handle on it, right? And you're like, okay, I know how this works. And then I started making like pretty big goals after that. Once I just, yeah, kind of knew how it worked. Like I was very in the moment as a freshman. I think I was just kind of like wide eyed, like, whoa, this is intense. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think there's almost like two options coming into college. It's either like I'm gonna make every single meet, like
Yeah.
it's no problem, or
Yeah.
it's kind of like I'm gonna take this step by step, and sometimes that's a better approach, I'll say.
Yeah.
Uh, but
It
when
also depends what team you're on. Cause for me, it was, again, like all seniors. So I was just like, oh, I don't know. But so, you know, I think it depends on maybe the vibe of the team too. But yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah. When you started to see that success in college, how were you able to sustain that as the fields were getting better? Obviously, now times are insanely fast,
Yeah.
but every year in the NCAA, it gets faster, it becomes more competitive. What were
Yeah.
some of the training pieces that allowed you to stay at the top of the NCAA?
Yeah, well, one, I feel like I always had a pulse on what everyone else was doing. Like even in high school, my homepage was mile split. Like we didn't have Instagram or anything, so that was like that's how you knew someone was like doing well. And then in college, it was TFers. So I feel like I always just knew who was doing what when. I'm pretty analytical when it comes to that. And then just pairing that with like my approach of like I just cared about consistency and getting better like over time. I mean, I have to thank my coaches for that. I feel like they really were like had a plan for me with that. But yeah, I feel like it, you know, of course you're adding in training elements where like, okay, after the first year you can handle maybe 50 miles a week. Let's now lift. And, you know, so there's obviously physical pieces that come into getting better. But I don't know. I feel like I had a really concrete plan of like what I was going to do and where I was trying to go. And I feel like at that point in my life, like the harder I worked, the better I got. It seemed pretty simple. So, um, yeah. And then, yeah, just having a pulse on what everyone else was doing. I was very tuned into that too. And just, yeah, you're just kind of raising each other's levels and you race against those women all the time. And I don't know, it just kind of seemed to blend well in move together. I don't know.
Did you ever see, like, obviously comparing yourself is like not always a great thing, but did you see that ever as like a negative, or was it always a positive to fuel the fire to be like, this woman just ran this, that means I can run this?
Hmm. I think this has changed throughout my career, but at that point, like, oh, I loved that. Like, I am very competitive. So it was like I would see, and I didn't feel, I feel like in high school, it's like this, like, I wasn't scared of anybody. I wanted to race the best girls or women in the country. And so I feel like I would see that and be like, I would even go to Gondak and try to switch my event for the weekend, you know? So yeah, I don't know. I feel like I definitely embraced that and like loved seeing that. So yeah.
As you're getting towards the end of your NCAA career, one of probably the most successful in Penn State history, what was the transition like between the NCAA and getting that first professional opportunity?
Yeah, that's hard. And again, this probably depends on, is going to change person to person, I feel like, but for me, I had a really rough, like, I was supposed to graduate actually in 2016 and I got hurt my last season. So we decided to redshirt, and I would wait all year, all the next year, and come back for outdoor. And so I feel like there was a lot of pressure on that season, and I was dealing with some health things, and so I wasn't running as well as racing as well as I wanted to or should have been, and was actually diagnosed with celiac disease like 2 weeks before regionals. I was like anemic. It was a mess. So anyway, I felt like I wanted to go pro, but I was dealing with all these things, and I didn't like, you're talking to agents and they're like, you need to be top 3 in the NCAA. Like, you need to be they're like telling you what to do basically to, so I remember that being just very stressful. Kind of got it together at NCAAs. I mean, it was my highest finish, but I mean, I wanted to win, right? But no, that was like the best race probably all year. But then after that, it took like 9 months for the contract to kind of come together. So, I stopped racing in July and didn't sign with Reebok till March. And, obviously looking back, that's like not a lot of time. But at the time, that was like stressful. Like, what are we doing? Yeah. I already moved to the different state. I thought I was going to be in. I was being remotely coached by like Angela Reckert, who was the coach at Penn State at the time. So it's kind of like a mess, but yeah, that was really stressful. Just, those things don't move very quickly. I feel like as runners, like you like control, right? And it was like out of my hands, it's kind of like a waiting game. So I just, tried to control what I could control and go with the flow, I guess.
I think going back onto like the 5th year, obviously it's sort of a tough, like you said, you're all in. It's a gamble. Yeah. It's sort of a weird kind of like, again, kind of 2 options that a 5th year kind of has. It's either all in or it's kind of a bust season, if you want to describe it that way. How did you manage that like stress and all that pressure to be able to run and still end up with the highest finish?
Yeah. It's funny because I don't even think I handled it well. So that's why I'm like, I don't even know. Because I don't know. I am just so stubborn, and like, I don't know. I just believed in myself so much, and I feel like I had a really good, like, strong support system around me that was just keep like reminding me, like, okay, you're good. You can do this. Just like take a little bit of iron, So I don't know. I think it was, I don't even know if I handled it well. I think it was a matter of just like, I don't know if I got lucky or if the luck was just the years of training or whatever, and it just worked out. Like, I actually don't even know. I did not expect to run well at NCAs. So, it was hard to keep that going. I will say in the prelim of that race, I felt amazing. I think I actually PR'd. So I was like, oh, we're good. So I also think at the meet, I had a little bit of communication. Like, I was like, oh wait, my body's working this weekend. So, okay. I think we're going to be okay. So that was helpful. I think. I don't know how I would have competed if I didn't have a prelim actually. So yeah, I don't know if that answered your question, but
no, that's good. I just think like that year especially is something that is super stressful for everyone, whether they're trying to sign their first pro contract or just have a good finish to the career that, they've put so much time and effort into. But once you got that contract, you're a professional athlete with Reebok, and you were able to be on that bigger stage, the professional scene now. What was the process like getting started? Obviously, you had to wait 9 months to get the contract, but what happened when you started with them, and what were some of the kind of like struggles or the high, like the new kind of positives of being a professional?
Yeah, this one's so tricky because it was such a weird timing and just weirdness. So yeah, I signed with Reebok. I think it was like March of 2018. At the time, they thought the team was it was a new team. It was like the first one to sign. Didn't even know who the coach was. Like literally. And I just moved to Boston. And then as they were kind of going through the process of figuring out the coach, then we figured out that we were actually at the end of the season, after the 2018 season, they wanted the team to be in Virginia. So I was in Boston being coached remotely by Penn State coach, and was kind of on my own. Just kind of, I lived with some other girls who were on other pro teams in Boston, and just kind of ran with them, and they would just kind of take me in. I was like the adoptive like team member. And actually, that was my best, actually probably best pro season for me. Now that I like look back at it, but what was I gonna say? Yeah, and then they got the coach, and I moved to Virginia, and 3 weeks later I got hurt and then was in a injury cycle for like a year. So I feel like what was hard, I guess, for me with the transition was dealing with injury almost immediately, like starting a pro career. And I had one injury in the 15 years of running before that. So yeah, I don't know. I think it was probably the injury was the hardest part, and dealing with that. That was really, really hard, as you can imagine.
Yeah, especially starting out like regardless of what sport you're in. Obviously, I mean,
Yep.
you see it in the NBA and the NFL and stuff. Like the rookie contract almost is more important than any other contract you're going to get after that. How are you able to kind of deal with that and get back at it?
Yeah. Yeah, I think well, honestly, I felt like I was trying to get back at it every year since then until I retired. Like, if I'm just being so honest. Yeah, I don't know. I think I'm just that person that like, it's like the cheesy saying of like get knocked down 9, get up 10. Like I just won't stop, Like you have goals, right? You're like, you're just like dealing with that. But yeah, once I kind of got over the injury cycle that year, 2020 was shaping up to be a great year, and then the whole world shut down, right? So I don't know. I feel like I hate to be this person of like, woe is me, but it did just feel a little unlucky each year after that. And you can work hard and do all this, but I do feel like a lot of this is timing. And yeah, I just feel like I didn't catch that fire in the right, like maybe the right timing, if that makes any sense. But yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just talking to who was it, Colin Aber, and he was
Yeah.
talking about like striking it like when it's hot, right?
You're
Like
right.
being able to run fast when it matters. How important is that as a professional? Obviously, in college, you have a guaranteed 4 years. You have a guaranteed potentially fifth year. Um, Professionally running, the contracts are already sort of tough to live on,
Yeah.
and definitely tough to just make ends meet. So
Mhm.
you're running basically for your life.
Yeah. Yeah, it
What was
changed.
that like? What was that like not being able to get that timing right?
Yeah, I mean, it's really hard. I think I still think about it now. You do the whole like, oh, I should have done this, or and that's at the time you're making the right decision, like as what you think, and I don't regret anything. But yeah, it's really important, I think, to strike when the iron's hot. I feel like I missed that window, but I feel like you gotta take advantage when you're in that. And not that you can't like come back and do that. I just think you're gonna have to deal with a little bit of hardship maybe in the middle to like get back. Yeah. Yeah. I think, yeah.
Yeah,
Again, I don't.
obviously. The reality, like we were just talking about, of professional running is like I think it's about 90% of professional athletes never make it to the second Olympic cycle without
Yeah.
having to either step away from the sport or switch events or something like that. Um, why do you think that is, especially in running, and what makes that career so short-lived sometimes?
Yeah. I think it's kind of what you were touching on before of like the contracts, the contract length, how much money you're getting offered for said contract. I just think it's like, yeah, you're not doing this for the money. It's a very small few who are, making maybe as much as like, someone in the actually probably not even in the NBA or NFL. I don't know why I would say that. But you know what I mean? Like enough to like live on or like, start your life. So it's a lot of sacrifice. And I think like, my first contract was 3 years long and I remember thinking like, oh, it's shorter than like college, like
Yeah.
and I'm like, oh no, like if I only had 3 years in college, like I wouldn't have done anything. So so yeah, there's a lot of pressure and there's new pressure and there's um navigating that's really hard, but I think, having a mentor or coach you trust is really important, and especially in the beginning in that like rookie season, like to guide you through that because it's a lot and you're also maybe moving to a completely new place and you're like even more on your own than before. Like yeah, you have your teammates, but just depends what team you're on. You might not even have a training partner. You might not have any women on the team. You might like there just might be like a very big difference. So yeah, it's really hard, but I think making sure you have kind of the right people on your in your corner is really important early on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So making the jump from Reebok to Tinman Elite, what made you kind of make that switch, or was it just sort of like the end of that contract and it was time to
Yeah.
get out?
Yeah, my contract was ending. It was weird because like 2020 was supposed to be the trials and then that's when all of our contracts were up. And so we're all like, well, we didn't, we still have like we're still trying to go to the trials the next year, right? So yeah, it was just weird timing with contracts, and I think I kind of saw the writing on the wall with the team. The team no longer exists, so it's like, okay, yeah. And yeah, I just kind of had this opportunity. One of our good friends, Corey Leslie, he was being poached to come coach out here for Tin Man, and was like, I'm starting a women's team. You want to move to Boulder? And I was like, sure. Like, I got nothing going on. So, yeah, I basically moved me, my boyfriend and dog at the time out here, or I didn't move. They moved for me while I was at a training camp. But yeah, I was back then I was very like I would have moved to Australia. Like I was just in that whole world of like I just want to see how good I can be and move all over. And yeah, I was totally in that headspace and took that opportunity. Yeah.
Yeah. What was that opportunity like? Obviously, Corey now is one of the best coaches in the world.
Yeah.
But what was that opportunity like getting to move out to Boulder and have another shot at it?
Yeah, I mean, it was awesome. Like, it felt, I had always wanted to either train out here, move out here. Like, I don't know. I always felt like being in Colorado is just awesome. I mean,
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was awesome. Like, I kind of felt like I had another chance. I do feel like most people maybe don't get that. Like, you end your contract, either you move on, you don't get a chance or whatever, So I did feel like it was a second chance, after this 3 year stint where I felt like I didn't get out of myself what I thought. Yeah, and moved out here. It was a little hard because they weren't as I said before, these things move very slowly, and so getting on like being on the team didn't happen actually until like the whole season was over, and Corey actually left. So yeah, but that year was awesome. I mean, that was the fastest steeple I've run under him, and it was a bummer when he left because I did feel like I was like, oh yeah, like here we go, like I'm back. So yeah, I think I've had so many coaching changes, and I think that's what's been so hard. But they've all been great, just in a lot of different ways.
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely tough. Like you're switching not only like the person that's coaching you, the personality that's getting you, but also the training cycles and
Yeah.
the different styles. But as you look back at your career, what is kind of the proudest moment that you will always look back on and think like, wow, I really did do that?
Yeah. Ooh. I know I saw this question and I was like, this is hard. I'm gonna go performance solely because I feel like this was just really validating. During my 5th year when I was redshirting, I was still racing like indoor, and again I was having health issues. I was just a mess, and I ended up going to Milrose and running a 16-second PB in the 3K and got third, and it was like I don't know, I mean, I remember calling my coach Rec, being like, telling her, she's like, no, you didn't. I'm like, no, I did, and I don't know what happened either. She didn't even believe me. when I told her. But anyway, I don't know. I feel like that was just such a validating moment. I feel like I struggled to perform well at bigger meets, and so I don't know. That was just a really validating moment. I think it's why I even got the like was able to go pro. It just opened a lot of doors for me. Like it only takes one meet to do that, probably know. And I feel like that was the meet. And it's also a good reminder for me. Like I remember at the time thinking like, oh, if I can do this, like I was still so forward thinking, but that meet actually ended up being like a highlight of my career. And so I don't know, just a good reminder to like when you're like in the good, like just really soak up the good, you know? And like I'm someone that like right when I finished the race, I was already on to the next, thinking about the next thing. And I don't know, it's just a good reminder to like really sit in good things that happen, you know? And maybe not be so like I don't know, when you're in it, you're just like, I don't know, you're just going. But yeah, that was just a really validating experience. So yeah.
Yeah. Obviously, there's so many like ups and downs in our sport. Obviously, the
Yeah.
ups make the downs kind of like go away, but yeah,
Yeah.
definitely when you're up there, it's just sort of like sometimes it's hard to soak it in and be like, wow, this is actually happening. I'm running this well. But um, even when I look back at my own career, I'm like, I
Yeah.
wish I would have, kind of enjoyed that rather than looking forward
Yeah.
to what might happen next.
Exactly. Exactly. I mean, as an athlete, you're almost like you're told to act like that, but it's like it's just a good reminder. Yeah, just like soak it in because this might be actually the best race you run ever in your life. So like was. So yeah, and I didn't know that at the time, but yeah.
Well, I want to ask you kind of three quick questions to finish out the podcast.
Yeah.
My first question for you is your best piece of advice for young track and field athletes.
Yeah, it's kind of like what I was saying when how I approached my freshman year. I think you just gotta just come in like super. I don't know. Maybe this is just how it is today. Again, I don't know, but I feel like everyone's running so fast. There's like NIL deals now that and I think that just it's it's amazing things, but it's added pressure, and I think I could see freshmen getting swept up in that maybe. And it's just like I don't know, like learn from the older people on your team, like really soak it in, like have fun. Like, I don't know, probably depends on the program you're in, but I don't know, just like soak it in. And I think you can't take yourself too seriously that first year. There's just so much change going on. And there's no shortcuts. So it's like you just gotta follow um, like follow the plan and just like be patient. Maybe that's the message. Be patient.
Obviously, being patient would be something I wish everyone
Oh,
would be able to do.
yeah. Yeah, exactly. As if I'm
But yeah, I do agree. Like being more kind of internally motivated would definitely help out being younger, rather than focusing on the things that can come with the sport. Because if you're just focused on the external value of things, it's going to be a tough ride when it's not
gonna
going
be
well.
a tough ride, yeah.
My second question is best part about being a professional athlete.
This might be so cheesy, but honestly, for me, it's just like the people I met. Like, I mean, I wouldn't be where I am without that. Like, I met my husband through running. All my friends are through running. Like, it's just I would not have the life I have without it. And it's the people. It's like my favorite day is when there's a million or not a million, maybe like 20 people at the track, just all running a workout, and it's sunny, and you're just having like a blast. Like that's just so fun. Like the people make this awesome, and that gets lost a little bit. So yeah, it's probably the people.
Awesome. And my third question is who are your favorite professional athletes or top three to watch right now?
This is actually the hardest question you sent me. Because I feel like I have to say like my friends, but like I don't know. I feel like there's a bunch of people that inspire me in different ways. But I probably have to say like Jess Ton. She has been at the top of sport for a very long time, but then took a very big break and then came back to marathon and got fourth at both trials last year and is running better than she ever has. And has a full-time job. So I just think I mean, I don't know, like not that I'm maybe gonna come out of retirement run a marathon, but I don't know, you just inspiring, right? That like you can step away, come back. I don't know. I feel like she just really honors herself well and shows up as herself. And I love that.
That's awesome. So
Yeah.
just one or top three?
Oh, I'll say her. But, yeah, so one of my good friends, Dom Scott, she lives here. We run together a lot. Same with her. I feel like she entered marathoning, has been battling, like just it's not clicking as much as she wants, and is still going after it and is running at 10. She's running at the 10 in a couple weeks, and she's super fit. So I don't know. I just love everybody who puts themselves out there, you know, like it's hard to get on the line, especially when you've been doing this for years and things maybe haven't gone your way, and you keep showing up. And I think that's a big deal. So anybody who does that, I'm a big fan. So
That's awesome. It's definitely hard to keep showing up when things aren't going well, but
yeah, really hard. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thanks again, Tori, for the time. It was an honor getting to talk with you today. Yeah, is there anything going on with the career? Are you gonna go in marathoning, or are you kind of done now?
Oh my gosh. Right now I am just running like 3 to 4 miles like every other day. And it's amazing. I love it. I would recommend. But I don't know. I think I needed like a really big reset, and I'm enjoying not running or not competing. But I don't know. I'm like a dreamer. Of course, I'm thinking about like 28 marathon, but like also the thought of training for a marathon right now sounds really hard. So we'll see. I'm just gonna keep resting and see what happens.
Awesome. Well, thanks again, Tori. I appreciate it. I appreciate the time.
Yeah, thank you so much. This was fun.